in the 3 cycles we have in the second Sunday of Lent this very mysterious event coming through. What actually happened on Mount Tabor and why? The answer is given within the Gospel itself, insofar as there is an allusion in the strange event to his exodus that he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. The disciples were receiving these warnings that the Son of Man was to be rejected. In this event, which transported them to another realm, the realm from which the Son of Man had come and to which he was returning, their eyes were opened and they were given this grace to enable them to affront this apparent tragedy. What actually happened? The Lord was seen to be what he was. They were to keep this secret, however, and they did. But when it came to the ultimate victory of the 3rd day after this exodus, then they were back on Mount Tabor, for the Lord gave them this rendezvous, this place of encounter. They were to go to Galilee, to the place, to the mountain that he had appointed for them. It was clearly Tabor, and there's a plaque there to this day indicating that. And so these 3, Peter, James and John, were on familiar ground, and there would have been goose pimples. Wow, we've been here before, and this is the same man. But look what's happened in the meantime. However, this was all to be, and the Lord in his humanity knew what redemption was going to mean. It was no joke, and we need to be careful that we don't make a joke of it. The writings of the Apostle Paul indicate how seriously the business of redemption and therefore possible salvation is. It's not automatic. All the preaching of the early church is because it is not automatic. And we need to be careful that we don't add unto the scriptures by adding our own doctrine of automatic and universal salvation. It is potentially universal, for the Lord wanted the salvation of all, but he can't force. And it is against that backdrop that we have these writings of the Apostle with regard to the culture and therefore the unfavourable ambience in which the early believers lived and in which by now we also live. And therefore we have, as it were, these 2 cities. St. Augustine later on would pick this up in the De Civitate Dei. But here we have the reminder that our homeland is in heaven. Well, that would be familiar to those 3 apostles. They had seen a bit of home. Lord, it is wonderful for us to be here. Let us make 3 tents. The desire to be close to heaven while on earth is the contemplative desire, and has given birth to many vocations of prayer and awaiting, prayer and accompanying, prayer and adoring, prayer and prostrating oneself before that same divine Majesty, out of which came the invitation to listen, to listen. And so here St. Paul is saying that our true homeland is in heaven. It is in chapter 3 of the letter to the Philippians, and the actual Greek is politeia, our citizenship. In fact, in my Carthusian years in France, I had this there on the front door of the cell, Nostra conversatio in celis est. Our conversation, our conversing, our moving up and down, our citizenship is in heaven, and it is an invitation to live on earth the life of what we are anticipated to live in heaven, insofar as the continuity of soul is there. It will be the same soul engaged one day without distraction into what it is already engaged in here on earth, with difficulty and distraction, but it is the same optic, the creature bowing down before and recognizing the authority of the Supreme King. This is the true optic of our creation. We are made to adore, love, and eventually behold. And so the more of that is happening on this side of the barrier of time and eternity, the better. If, on the other hand, the soul is, as St. Paul is pointing out, orientated towards what is around and therefore disfavourable, the more that soul is handicapped and pointed in the wrong direction, noseward bound, earthward bound, looking down and not up. And if we are looking down, for instance, all day and much of the night, down, down, down into the virtual, the cybersphere, and often the contaminated cybersphere, that is where also the energy of the soul is going. Whereas if the soul is looking up towards the tabernacle, towards the crucifix, into the pages of Scripture, into the clouds of the air, from where the Lord will return, there the optic is more correct. Homeward bound, I wish I was. Home, where the music's playing. Music is the language of the angels, and we will see them one day, our little hidden brothers, and they do not like to see us looking at what is contaminated, what is emitted by the other crowd. And they are all around us. Demons are in the air, wanting our harm. Even in the Old Testament there were mystical experiences. We have one here in the reading about Abraham and this covenant. In the Old Testament, a covenant is cut, literally, in Hebrew. And there is something of that cutting taking place in this mysterious event described. Well, we have a covenant cut in the blood and in the flesh of the Lamb. That same Lamb that here on earth is hidden, but some mystics have half seen. He is there before us, slain on the altar, as we see at Knock, surrounded by angelic praise, circling, 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 while we are distracted and wondering about what to do after we go out of church, when we have right before us the summit of Mount Tabor.